turnout, so it's great to see everybody here. I'm Toby. I'm the one that's been sending you about 100 emails every hour, so apologies for that. It's an automated system. That's my excuse. So what I'd like to do to kick off, I'd like to first of all introduce Amanda Rice, who's Head of Diversity here at the BBC, who will give us a bit of an introduction to the event, and then we'll go straight into the panel discussion, and then explain how the rest of the evening will work. So, Amanda, thanks.
So I think some of you may know that 2 or 3 years ago the BBC and Channel 4 worked together to carry out a piece of research looking at what how disabled audiences thought of disabled portrayal or portrayal of disability and also access across public service broadcasting. And the key messages that came back from that research in terms of portrayal were very much around people wanting to see much more incidental portrayal. So not disability not being necessarily central to the programme, but incidental portrayal. To drop the stereotypes, the old stereotypes, somebody in a wheelchair, ageing, rather sexless, just that one picture of disability. To see more people, disabled people in everyday situations, reading the news, in continuing dramas, just sort of standard everyday situations rather than specific programmes about disability. And in terms of access, the feedback was that pretty good accessible services, but expectations are very high, particularly for the BBC. So some really useful messages there. Soon after that research was concluded, in EastEnders we had our first long-running disabled character, David Proud, playing disabled actor David Proud playing a disabled character, and certainly much more, we're seeing much more incidental portrayal on a variety of programmes. However, there is still loads more to do. Last year, well, about 18 months ago, the Creative Diversity Network carried out a piece of portrayal analysis across all of the major UK broadcasters, looking at peak time television across a whole range of programmes. And the findings from that showed that under 1%, 0.9% representation of disabled people across all programmes, compared to what is generally considered to be statistic of 20% representation in the population. So a massive gap there. Across certain genres, in drama, for example, the representation was around 1.4%, and across continuing dramas, so it was higher, around 2.4%, and I think we can see that if we think of some of the continuing dramas, both from the BBC and other broadcasters. But still a lot more to do, particularly I think in terms of incidental portrayal. So really important to have an event like this tonight. One of the things Toby did ask me to touch on in this introduction was to say that, to really stress that actually it's not massively complex to think about disability and portrayal of disability in productions. There's a lot of advice and guidance out there. The BBC itself has got its production handbook. We're just about to update this handbook, in fact, but a wealth of information there to help production teams think about disability and inclusion right from the start in productions. And yes, sometimes it is going to mean extra resources, but not by any means every time. Often it's just about having a conversation about what the needs of someone who has an impairment may be, and thinking through different reasonable adjustments that can be put into place. There's also access for work funding that is available for people, for disabled people at work, and we have our own BBC Access Services unit, which can make assessments, look at the needs of people with different impairments, and put reasonable adjustments into place. So a lot of sort of help and advice out there. And apart from all that, it's about talking to people, talking to disabled people, and asking what it is that's going to provide a reasonable adjustment and help in a working situation. And I think that's a great opportunity tonight to be able to have those sort of open discussions about what needs may be, and look to the future for more disabled representation right across the programme. So without further ado, there it is, hiding at the back there. Yeah. I'll pass you back to Toby, who I think is going to introduce our illustrious panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, for the first portion of this event, we're going to have a panel debate, and I'll introduce the panel to you. And then after the panel debate, we're then going to do a speed networking type thing, which I'll explain after the panel, because I don't want to overload you with information. But it's going to be you know, a really good opportunity to meet new people, to spark creative ideas. And really the whole purpose of this evening, and it's a very long title, everything that you wanted to know about disability but were too afraid to ask. Basically, this is kind of like a safe room where you can ask any question, you know, those questions that you might be a bit worried about asking, or the taboo type questions, because in drama we'd like to get a lot of creativity, you know, we'd like to have, as Amanda said, you know, greater portrayal of disability. If this format works this evening, then we'd like to try and do the same for other genres like factual and entertainment, so that everybody here is going to really set the trail blazing. So I'll introduce the panel. On my right here we've got Shannon Murray. Shannon is an actress and broadcaster. She's also very multi-talented. She works for the BBC as well, in BBC Legal. So thanks for coming along. We also have Ben Stevenson. Ben is the controller of drama commissioning here at BBC. Paul Carter, who's a director of his own production company, Mark III Media, and has had some commissions with the BBC. And then Martin Sibley, who's a social media entrepreneur, and you also may recognise him from being a presenter on Inside Out London. And Martin will be chairing this evening. So we'll kick off the panel debate, which will be for the next half an hour, and then I'll come in and let you know what's happening after that. Thanks. Martin.
Thank you, Toby. It's going to be a good crowd, isn't it? So yeah, as Toby said, my name is Martin. I run my own social enterprise around e-learning for disabled people, and also run a magazine called Disability Horizons. And my job today is to be tasked to control these three and moderate them if it gets a little bit out of hand, so I'm sure it won't. But we're going to also be exploring, looking at how there's 10 million disabled people in the UK, and kind of questioning, is that mirrored within the characters that we have in drama that's been commissioned. And these three guys are going to help us to explore that and come up with some solutions at the end of it as well. So I think I'll start by, if you all three want to give a little bit more of an intro, we'll start with Shannon, just kind of some work that you've done and any relevant information as an introduction really that you think the guys would like to have. Exactly, yeah.
It's online. Hi, I'm Shannon. As is already mentioned by Toby, I work full-time at the BBC. Like many actors, shortage of work, so you've got to find a day job, and mine's been working at the BBC. Before all of that, I started going to drama school when I was about 7 years old. Then I had an injury when I was 14, which left me in a wheelchair. I reached the conclusion at that point that there was no way I could be an actress. I didn't see any on-screen representation of disability. The only person I could think of that had been on TV in a wheelchair was Ironside. And I'm not really sure how much we've changed since then. And didn't really think much about drama or acting after that until I was in my early 20s and was asked to go along for a casting at Channel 4 for a short film for their Dogma series. And I got the part and fell in love with drama and acting again. Went back to drama school, studied at Central, and still kept a day job going. I've been really fortunate in landing work with the BBC on screen. I've done a Polycroft drama with Nick Brown. I've done Casualty a few years ago, and I've just finished another stint on Casualty 2 weeks ago. But sadly, as much as I love doing what I do, there hasn't been the work that you really, really want to do, which is, you know, the 9 o'clock dramas, the things that return series after series, like Waking the Dead, Silent Witness, that have got strong, powerful stories, but are really lacking in any kind of disabled characters. I think across all the stations, there's a real lacking of any strong disabled characters. They're all slightly bland, a bit safe, and not really representative of disabled people. We feel the same emotions as everybody else, whether it's, you know, fear, terror, passion, desire, sensuality. All those things are within us, but to watch TV, you wouldn't really think that. And I think that it's a shame that even though there is still room to grow, and there are still other characters that are coming along. I don't think most people could name a character from a drama or a soap who has a disability, really. I think Coronation Street are doing really well with Cheryl Lee Houston, and that's been a really true portrayal. I think Hollyoaks have done pretty well, but I think there's still a long way to go with strong characters that people want to watch, whether they love them or hate them.
Thank you, Gemma.
I've got to follow that. That was very good. Well, we were just having conversations here about it, and I think there are 3 areas that are quite distinct to talk about in terms of drama on screen. I think the first is the continuing dramas, so EastEnders, Holby, Casualty and Doctors for us, and I think without doubt they're doing much better than they used to do. I think the nature of the volume of those shows, I can't think how many episodes it is if you add it up on the year, but it's about 400 hours or something crazy. Clearly within that volume there is a real opportunity to bring in loads of different characters, and as I say, I think they have done a good job over the last few years, but without doubt that's where us in our exec capacity can push at the edges. First area. Second area, slightly more bespoke area, that is about individual writers with a passion for a subject that delves into a particular element of an issue. Those pieces will come around when they come around, because it will be about the inspiration of a writer having a passion for a particular subject. The third area is the one that we just had a really interesting conversation about, and is the one that I think is the biggest. And it was you talking about incidental, you talking about 9 PM drama, and for me, the big thing that we really need to tackle is how we get writers to writing characters in the script, in the stage directions, before it comes to people like me, that has a whole range of different types of people in it, whether we're talking about disability or not. And for me, that's the big issue, because it just doesn't happen. And obviously what we can do is push people to do that, but the truth about great drama is it comes from writers, and it comes from writers owning that. And what I really feel we might want to think about doing is doing a version of this, but for the very best writers in the country. Because I really think it could make quite a radical difference if we said, let's get some great writers along, let's just talk about some of the interesting ideas or issues that could come out. And I just think that that will give people something to be inspired about, and you'll suddenly find that you read a script and it's got a disabled character in it who's actually just a computer nerd at Spooks, or is a spy in Spooks, or is one of the Hustle team, or one of the forensic scientists on Waking the Dead. And I think that for me, all of those areas are really key. That's the area that we need to do more on. And it's in no way a criticism of the amazing writers that we work with. I just think that there's a real opportunity there to give writers some more areas that they can write about. And just for us to say, listen, it's a big concern of ours, it's something we'd really like to see. And if we say that, I think that will catch fire in writers' imagination. So I think that we should think about how we do that, and what the most useful way of engaging with that is.
Brilliant, thank you. So we'll explore a couple more things just ourselves at the moment, but there is going to be time for Q&A. So obviously if anyone has any burning questions that we don't quite cover, there is going to be a format for that. But Paul, do you want to?
Sure, yeah. My name is Paul. I'm a producer, occasional director, and even more occasional presenter. Run a production company called Mark 3 Media, and we have a particular specialism in making programmes around the area of disability. We had a programme on BBC 2 last year called Are You Having a Laugh? TV and Disability, which some of you may have seen. And we're quite passionate about kind of portraying disability in a different way. We're a company led by disabled people, and we think we can do it slightly differently. One thing we're particularly passionate about is giving opportunities to disabled people on and off screen. TV, for all of the advances it's made, it's still very averse to difference, and it's very difficult for disabled people, in my experience, to kind of make headway. And we see ourselves as hopefully providing opportunities for new talent in that field. Martin recently presented an Inside Out London for us, and we're hoping to make great strides in that. And following from what you were just saying, I think TV is also very reflective of the people that make it. And I think what you were saying about the writers, I think the BBC and Channel 4 in particular are making good strides in opening up accessibility and making it something that's not taboo. But I think the one thing that I would kind of say to the room is that I just think people need to stop being scared about it. It's not an issue to be skirted around. It's not taboo. You're not going to offend anyone. If you are going to offend someone, then it's probably better that you do, and you make your mistakes and you learn from them. Just ask questions. I think that's the biggest thing that I can possibly say.
Which we have a part later on to do that as well, which is cool. Cool. So I think we've obviously explored the fact that there is potentially fears about kind of casting disabled people. It'd be good to get your thoughts a bit more on what those fears are about. You talked about offending, but I mean there maybe could be, I think you could look at the social model of disability, there's physical barriers, attitudinal barriers and organisational barriers. It'd be good just to get your thoughts on where the biggest barriers are, but then kind of looking at some of the solutions as well around how that can work. Do you want to kick that off, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I think... Well, actually, it might be better for Shannon.
Shannon?
Pass the buck.
Thanks.
Well, from my experience, any kind of fears, I guess, I mean, I don't know whether we'll have fixed, whether it's writers not writing the part because they're not sure they have enough knowledge about disability, or whether it's logistical issues about working with somebody with a disability and any kind of physical barriers. From my experience, there's never really been any problems with it. If you're in a studio, most things are accessible. If you're out on location, people are there to support you. The most frequently asked question I get asked is, what do we do about a toilet? So whether it's hiring a portaloo the same way that you hire a honey wagon for everyone else, or whether it's being at a location where there is an accessible loo nearby, whether that's just running to McDonald's. Everything can be overcome. Most disabled people face kind of logistical issues in their daily life every day. So doing something while you're filming really isn't going to be that hard to overcome. And for most of us who are actors trying to get work, we're going to be so glad to get the work that we'll do anything to overcome what the logistical issues are. And we want to make it as easy for everybody else we're working with to kind of pass the message on that you're aware that anytime you work with a production team, they're going to go away with an experience of working with a person with a disability. And if you've made that experience negative and you've been a real pain in the arse, you're not going to get booked again, and you're also going to kind of make it look like it's really hard to work with disabled people. So I've always tried to make sure that I'm as accommodating as I can be, because generally I'm just so happy to be working. I think anything to do with people's attitudes, again, it's kind of based on experience. If you've dealt with somebody with a disability and they've been a complete nightmare, that can kind of sour your experience, but you can't tar everybody with the same brush. And I think that as things become more accessible in general in the built environment, those things are less and less of an issue. And I think what's really important to remember is the portrayal that goes out on screen filters through to society and actually colours what people think about disability. So if somebody's watching a drama and there's a particular portrayal, so many people come away thinking that's what disabled people are like because they've seen it on TV, so it must be true. Yeah. So I think that's a bit of the problem that comes from disabled actors when you're reading scripts. You're kind of like, oh, I'm not sure that's quite realistic, but some people won't challenge and say, can we tweak that to make it more realistic.
There's quite a nice snowball effect there, I guess, isn't there, that in casting more disabled people in dramas, for example, and then creating a learning for society, that will then educate society on a positive or can-do approach, which then would come back into more likelihood of being casted again.
Exactly, it goes around full circle.
Yeah.
Also, I think I'd quite like to see some disabled characters on screen that are arseholes as well. I don't think you see enough of that. I was chatting to Warwick Davis the other day, and he was saying that one of the big things about Life's Too Short was that he wanted his character to be a bit of a tosser. Because you don't see that representation, and I think that's
always